I was staring at the ceiling last night, kind of dealing with that Sunday evening dread, and I realized we're all on this weird universal quest.
Hmm.
We're all chasing the good life. But if I actually put you on the spot right now and asked, what is the good life?
Mm.
What would you even say?
Ugh.
Is it just, feeling good all the time?
Right. Is it zero stress and infinite pizza?
Exactly. Or is it, I don't know, something heavier?
It's the question, isn't it? The one that keeps the lights on in philosophy departments. And usually when we try to answer it, we sort of pick a lane. We look at biology or we look at it through psychology and art.
Sure.
But what's so fascinating about the material we have today is that it just refuses to stay in one lane. We're looking at a stack of research that mashes up evolutionary psychology, heavy-duty neuroscience, and,
Even French existentialist theater.
yeah, which is a wild combination.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a syllabus that includes wolfpack hunting tactics and Jean-Paul Sartre.
It sounds like a mess, I know. But the mission here is to connect those dots. We want to see how our biological hardware, the stuff that kept us alive for millennia, might actually be, well, sabotaging our happiness in 2024.
Okay.
We're going to look at why we're so wired to seek meaning, what happens mechanically in the brain when we lose the ability to feel joy, and how a room with absolutely no mirrors might explain why we care so much about what other people think.
Okay, I'm in. We are going from cavemen to smartphones to hell. Literally, the play is set in hell. So let's start with the hardware, the biology.
The engine under the hood.
Yeah. If we want to understand why we aren't happy, we have to understand how this 3-pound lump of jelly actually processes the world. And from what I'm reading here, it seems to default to one specific setting.
Pattern recognition.
Pattern recognition.
Right. At its absolute core, your brain is a survival machine. It doesn't really care if you're fulfilled or self-actualized.
It just cares if you're alive tomorrow.
It cares if you're alive tomorrow. And the best way to stay alive is to predict the future based on the present. It's constantly scanning for patterns to make those predictions.
The research used this hunting analogy that I actually found really helpful.
The wolf pack one.
Yeah. Imagine you are an ancestor of ours wandering through the tall grass. You hear a rustle. Your brain has to make a split-second call. Is that one wolf or is that a pack of 10 wolves?
Exactly. And you don't have time to count. 1, 2, 3.
You're dead.
You're dead. Ciao. This is a cognitive process called sabotaging. It's the ability to instantly grasp the magnitude of a small number of items without actually counting them. It's a pattern match.
So if the pattern says one wolf, maybe you stand your ground. If it says 10 wolves, you run.
Your cortisol spikes and you are gone. We basically evolved to be statistical processing machines.
We had to be.
We had to be. And it's not just threats. Think about navigation. If you're trying to get back to camp, you aren't memorizing every single pebble. You're memorizing the geometry of the horizon. 3 sharp peaks, 1 flat mesa.
That pattern is your map.
It's your map. We are wired to extract order from chaos because, for millions of years, order meant safety. Chaos meant death.
Okay, but here is where I get a little skeptical. That was useful then. But I'm not dodging wolves. I'm dodging spam emails. Is this wolf detector really still running the show?
It's running the show more than ever. The engine is always on. The problem is the environment has changed. We still have that desperate biological need to find patterns, but we don't have clear signals anymore.
And this leads to things like confirmation bias.
Exactly. We've all heard of it. But think about it evolutionarily. It is always safer to assume a rustle in the grass is a tiger and be wrong.
Than to assume it's the wind and be eaten.
Right. We're biologically biased toward confirming threats, confirming patterns we already suspect exist. It is metabolically cheaper for the brain to say, yes, that fits, than to stop and analyze everything from scratch.
So we are lazy, paranoid pattern seekers.
Efficient, paranoid pattern seekers. And this spills over into how we literally see the world. Have you ever looked at a cloud and sworn you saw a face?
Oh, constantly. I had a piece of burnt toast once that looked exactly like my high school principal.
That's called pareidolia, and it happens because of a specific part of your brain, the fusiform face area. It is so hyper-tuned to find human connection, to find the tribe, that it will fire even on false positives.
Just needs a couple of dots and a line.
A shadowy line for a mouth, 2 dots for eyes, and your brain just screams, face! We are desperate to find the human pattern in the noise.
So we have this biological drive to find patterns. We're looking for wolves, we're looking for faces.
Yeah.
But how do we get from avoiding wolves to living a good life? Because the literature here seems to be in a bit of a cage match over what happiness even is.
It's a battle that's been going on for thousands of years. On one side, you have the hedonic tradition.
Right, this goes back to Aristippus in the 4th century BC. I feel like I know this guy. He's the eat, drink, and be merry type.
Pretty much. His view, and the view of a lot of modern psychology, is that the goal of life is to maximize pleasure and minimize pain. It's a simple equation. Do you feel good right now? Are you satisfied?
If yes, you're winning. I mean, who doesn't want to feel good? That sounds like a solid plan. Why make it more complicated?
Because feeling good isn't the same as being well.
Yeah.
And that's where the challenger comes in. Eudaimonia. This is Aristotle's view.
Ah, Aristotle.
He argued that happiness isn't a fleeting emotion, it's an activity. It's about functioning well. The word eudaimonia roughly translates to living in accordance with your daemon, or your true self.
True self sounds a little abstract, though, doesn't it? Is that just doing whatever I feel like doing?
Not quite. It's about realization of potential. Think about training for a marathon. Is mile 20 pleasurable?
God, no. It's torture.
Right. It's low hedonia. You're in pain. But when you cross that finish line, you might have a profound sense of meaning, competence, and accomplishment. That is eudaimonia.
So you can have a life full of pleasure that feels empty, and a life full of struggle that feels incredibly rich.
Exactly.
There was one part of the research that really threw me for a loop, though. The paradox of aging.
Oh, yeah. That one's completely counterintuitive.
Right. I mean, you'd think, logically, as you get older, everything gets worse. Your back hurts, your friends die. Happiness should tank. But the data says the opposite.
It is hard to believe, but consistently, older adults report higher subjective well-being than young adults.
Is it just because they forget the bad stuff?
It's more intentional than that. The theory is that when you're young, your time horizon feels infinite. You're obsessed with novelty, with acquiring things.
A very dopamine-heavy state.
Very stressful. As you age and the time horizon shrinks, your focus shifts to the now. You stop caring about a wide network and focus on a deep, one poignancy, emotional depth, established relationships. They unknowingly shift from the hedonic treadmill of more to a eudaimonic appreciation of what is.
Speaking of the treadmill, we have to talk about money. Because I feel like everyone says money doesn't buy happiness, but everyone acts like it definitely does.
The research is nuanced here. In poorer nations, or if you are struggling to pay rent, money absolutely buys happiness.
It buys survival. It silences the wolf at the door.
Exactly. But in wealthy nations, once your basic needs are met, the correlation just flattens out almost completely. In fact, high materialism, building your identity around stuff, is actually linked to lower well-being.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. You're chasing the pattern of success, but it doesn't actually feed the daemon.
Okay, so we have the engine pattern recognition, we have the destination, hopefully eudaimonia, not just cheap thrills. But what happens when the car just stops? We need to talk about anhedonia. I always thought this was just a fancy word for being depressed.
It is a core symptom of depression, but mechanically it's distinct. Sadness is an emotion. You can feel very sad. Anhedonia is a deficit. It is the absence of feeling, a breakage in the machinery of reward.
And this is where we need to get a little technical.
We do, because understanding this changed how I view my own brain. We used to think pleasure was one thing, but neuroscience shows there are two distinct systems, liking and wanting.
Wait, hang on. If I want a donut, isn't that because I like donuts? How can those be different?
They use different neurotransmitters. Wanting is driven by dopamine. It is the anticipation, the craving, the motivation to go get the thing.
It's the hunter.
It's the hunter seeking the wolf. Liking is driven by the opioid system. That is the actual consummatory pleasure, the yum feeling when the sugar hits your tongue.
So dopamine is the chase, opioids are the prize.
Precisely. And here is the scary part. You can have a situation where the wanting system is hyperactive, screaming at you to do something, but the liking system is offline.
That sounds disturbingly like my relationship with my phone.
That is exactly what has happened, and we call it your brain on scroll. Social media apps are engineered to hijack the dopamine system, the wanting.
The notification badge, the infinite scroll.
The variable rewards. It's all designed to trigger that pattern-seeking anticipatory drive. You scroll because you want to see what's next. But are you actually experiencing liking? When you watch the 50th video in a row, are you feeling a rush of deep opioid-based pleasure?
No. I usually feel kind of gross. Numb.
That is the definition of anhedonia. You are caught in a dopamine loop with no opioid reward. And it's not just a feeling, it's changing your brainwaves. There's a study showing that short-form video consumption reduces theta brainwave activity in the frontal cortex.
Okay, you dropped theta waves on me. Why do I care about theta waves?
Theta waves are associated with a relaxed, daydreaming state. The idling mode, where your brain consolidates memory, processes emotions.
It's where creativity happens.
It is. When you doom scroll, you aren't relaxing. You are keeping your brain in a state of high alert hyperarousal, but with no cognitive payoff. You are physically blocking your brain's ability to rest.
So we are over-revving the engine while parked in the garage.
And burning out the starter motor. This leads to social anhedonia. We lose the desire to connect with actual people because the digital pattern is easier. It's faster.
And requires less vulnerability. We're hyper-connected, yet we feel completely unseen.
And this idea of being unseen actually sets up the philosophy component perfectly. We're moving from the lab to the theater.
We need to talk about Jean-Paul Sartre and his play No Exit.
A masterpiece of discomfort.
So for those who haven't read it, the setup is literally hell. But there's no fire, no devils with pitchforks. It's just a drawing room. And there are three people, Garcin, Inez, and Estelle, locked in together for eternity.
And there is one crucial interior design choice that Sartre made.
No mirrors.
There are no mirrors in the room.
Which seems like a minor annoyance, but in the play, it destroys them. Why?
Think about how you verify your own existence. When you look in a mirror, you control the image. You fix your hair, you pose, you tell yourself, I look confident.
You're the subject.
You're the subject observing the object. Without a mirror, the only way you can see yourself is through the eyes of the other people in the room.
You lose control of your own image.
You are completely at their mercy. This leads to that famous line that gets printed on coffee mugs, but is almost always misunderstood. Hell is other people.
Yeah, I always thought that just meant people are annoying. Like, hell's the DMV line.
It's so much more terrifying than that. Sartre meant that our very identity is held captive by the gaze of the other. I cannot be me in a vacuum. I need you to recognize me. But if you refuse to see me the way I want to be seen,
If you see a coward when I want to be a hero.
then I cannot escape your judgment. I am trapped in your view of me.
And in the play, they basically torture each other by refusing to validate each other's delusions, right?
Exactly. Garcin is a deserter. He wants to be seen as a brave pacifist. He begs the women to tell him he's brave. But Inez, who is cruel and honest, she refuses. She acts as the human mirror. She holds up the truth of his actions.
And he can't escape her gaze.
So he can't escape the reality of who he is.
This connects to that concept of bad faith.
Right. Bad faith is when you lie to yourself to avoid the terrifying responsibility of your own freedom. Garcin says, I intended to be brave, so I am brave.
And Sartre says,
Sartre says, no, you are what you do. You are the sum of your actions. Garcin is in hell because he wants to be judged by his internal wishes, not his external reality. He wants validation without the action.
It's kind of wild how this loops back to the social media thing.
Right.
We curate these profiles, these digital mirrors, because we're terrified of the gaze.
That is a brilliant connection. The infinite scroll is the ultimate bad faith. It's a way to avoid the gaze entirely. If I'm looking at my phone, I don't have to look at you looking at me.
I can hide in the pattern. Chase the dopamine and avoid the existential dread.
So how do we break out? Because we've painted a pretty bleak picture here. Biology robots chasing fake wolves, addicted to dopamine, and terrified of each other. Is there an exit?
Well, in the play, the door actually opens at one point.
It does. Garcin has a chance to leave, and he shuts the door. He stays. Because the uncertainty of the outside world, the need to go out and actually be someone new, is scarier than the known torture of the room. He prefers the hell he knows.
But for us?
For us, the exit is building actual eudaimonic purpose. And the sources break this down into implicit and explicit purpose.
Explicit purpose is the big scary stuff, right? What is the meaning of my life?
Yes, and frankly, if you wake up every Tuesday trying to solve the riddle of your existence, you're going to freeze. The research suggests focusing on implicit purpose.
Everyday meaning. Small patterns.
Exactly. Making a cup of coffee for your partner, planting a garden, listening to a friend without looking at your phone. These are small, concrete actions that build competence and connection.
It reminds me of the self-determination theory. They talk about 3 nutrients for the mind: autonomy, competence, and relatedness.
Autonomy is the big one we need to reclaim from the tech companies. Are you choosing your actions, or is the algorithm choosing them for you?
Are you acting in bad faith, just drifting, or are you seizing your freedom?
Precisely.
The sources had one practical tip for autonomy that I actually tried this week. grayscaling the smartphone.
It sounds like such a tiny, trivial thing, doesn't it? Change your settings.
It really does. I felt ridiculous doing it. But the effect was immediate.
It works because it breaks the pattern.